Well, today is the day, May the 4th. And anyone who's even the smallest bit of a Star Wars fan recognizes in that phrase the familiarity of the sound, May the Force. So, May the Force be with you changes into May the 4th be with you. And that was just a really cool quip amongst fans for the longest time. And then it kind of became more recently just another Hallmark holiday where it's more or less celebrated amongst licensees as a reason to have additional sales or to generate more revenue from certain merchandise than other days of the year. But nonetheless, I am a fan of the day, but more of the franchise, as anyone as a visitor to my house can see. It doesn't take much to notice that. But also, on days like May the 4th, and even the phrase saying, May the Force be with you, to my Lutheran ears, it resonates yet something else that's very familiar. And that's when we say, May the Lord be with you. So when someone says or texts me, as the case has been today, May the 4th be with you, Brian, my Lutheran instincts kick in and I want to respond back, and also with you. So it got me thinking, in terms of Bible study, in terms of devotion, what's the significance of saying that? Not May the Force be with you or May the 4th, but when we say the Lord be with you, and then people respond and also with you. What is the significance of that? Does it even seem kind of silly, kind of redundant? Since God is everywhere, then why are we wishing him to be with you, to try to bless somebody in that way? To extend a blessing to say, God be with you. And then them also to return the blessing to say, God be with you also. The Lord be with you. And so I started looking, and it only took the second book of the Bible, Exodus, to come across something. Now, I don't know if this is the definitive historical origins of the use of the phrase, the Lord be with you, and this is where it came from, and that's where we get all of our rich liturgy from, this insight in particular. But at least for me, this was a significant moment. To recognize that this may be one of many instances of where we get this practice from. And what's the big deal anyways? So if you've never been to church before, but you have heard some Bible stories in your life, God's people, the Israelites, were in slavery in Egypt for hundreds of years. Then Moses leads them out of slavery at God's command. God leads them out of slavery, delivers them out of slavery in Egypt. In the book of Exodus, to meet with God, Moses would climb up on top of a mountain, encounter God, bring back down the word of the Lord to the people, the 10 Commandments and other things. This is the way it would transpire, it would go down. And then, after they leave Mount Sinai and continue on towards the promised land from God, where they're now going to inhabit and dwell as a people, something interesting happens. God gives them, as part of the commandments, a blueprint and says, build this tabernacle, this tent, and make this ark. Not the ark that Noah had all the animals on, the big huge boat, but the Ark of the Covenant. Picture Indiana Jones in this golden box with angels, cherubim on each side facing one another, with poles going through it. Why carry this Ark of the Covenant with the commandments inside in this special tent? Well, because now God was not only going to deliver them from Egypt out of the bondage of slavery, but he himself was going to be the guide that led them through the wilderness and into the promised land. He would literally go before them like a lead blocker, but his presence would dwell in this tabernacle, in this Ark of the Covenant. So now God literally is not some far off, distant God, but he's with his people. And that is just so significant. And then fast forward to the New Testament, where God himself, Jesus Christ, literally takes on human flesh. The Creator himself is born into his own creation and dwells among us. Literally, Emmanuel, God with us. And so when God is with you, man, it doesn't get any more intimate, more powerful than that. It's one thing for me to know that God is everywhere and God's out there somewhere. But it's totally different for me to realize and be reminded that God is with me, Brian Bocian, right now, right here, as we talk, as I go through my day, as I go through life's struggles, that God literally goes before me and beside me and is right there with me, upholding me. So for someone to say, Brian, the Lord be with you, the blessing in that, it's not that they're saying, would God be with you when somehow he might not be, because he is everywhere, but would you realize, would you know that God is with you in this? Would you realize that this day? And for me to say that in return, and God, may the Lord also be with you. Thank you for blessing me in this way, but you're blessed in this way too. It's not just pastors and not just the priests that God is with, or that God converses with, or that reap the benefits of this relationship with God. No, it's you too. And for me to remind you back, and also with you. And so there's all kind of other examples in Scripture where people will say, the Lord be with you, as this special blessing. From 1 Samuel, David, King Saul says it to David as he goes to fight the Philistines, as this special blessing to remind David that it's not you who fights, but it's the Lord who fights for you. There's other instances, and even Paul in the New Testament will write many times, the Lord be with you, as this special benediction, this special blessing that gives us peace. Why is it that it gives it peace? It's not a magic incantation. It's not a spell that somehow changes me, but it is a reminder that changes my perception of the reality that already is. So when you tell me, the Lord be with you, Brian, it reminds me that I remember that God is with me. God has gone to great lengths to be with me and is still with me right now as I go through all the stuff that I go through. And so for me to remind you of that reality also, and also with you, may your perception of reality, of what's really real, that God is with you, may knowing that give you a peace that you did not have before this. Before somebody blessed you in that way, to remind you, to say that blessing, to say, God be with you also. So sure, may the fourth be with you. May the force be with you for something fun and made up and magical, for storytelling purposes. But for real life, for what really matters, may the Lord be with you this day.